Hi, you guys. It's Mrs. Bonner. Obviously, my voice is going a little bit, so I hope you can understand me. I just want to give you the very basics of adding and subtracting rational functions in this video, and then we can, kind of clean it up tomorrow and take a look at some more complicated examples. So, for a warm up, I want you just to look at a basic adding fraction. So, 3/4 plus 4/12. So, you guys know what you would do from here is, you need a common denominator. So in this case, we're looking at 12, and what we're going to do is multiply the denominator 4 by a number to get 12. So we know that that's 3. What you do to the denominator, you also do to the numerator. So we get 9 plus, in our second fraction, it's already at 12, so we don't need to do anything to the numerator. So you would have a 4 there. From here, we go ahead and can write it out if we want. Usually we skip that step, but you can write it now as one big fraction, and then you get 13 over 12. Okay, so now that is what we would consider our baby math that we learned way back when. So let's go ahead now and try to apply that to a different problem, a more complicated problem. Okay, so in this problem right here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our two different terms. Now we need to find our common denominator, so we're going to look for what we call our least common multiple, okay? And you get that just by finding the factors of the denominator. So you're going to look for factors of denominator. Alrighty, now if you notice that the denominators are really close, they're really close to one another. So if there's something we could just do to this 1 minus x to make it look like x minus 1, life would be good. And you know that we can. We covered that yesterday in class. So we did 1 over, take out your negative 1, and you get x minus 1. Okay, so from here, we know that our least common multiple is going to be our two factors. So we have a negative 1 and an x minus 1. All right, so from here, let's go ahead and rewrite our original problem with our new denominator. Okay, so we rewrote this with our common denominator. So from this step, you're going to just kind of think of what you did up here with the fraction. So ask yourself, what were we missing here in our original? So we have this x minus 1. Well, we were missing the negative 1 factor. So I went ahead and added it in there. So what you do to the denominator, you also do to the numerator. Good. Now in our second term here, let's go ahead and see, were we missing anything up here in our original? No, we had both of our factors of our common denominator. So since we didn't have to add anything or multiply any factors in here, we don't have to touch the numerator up here. So the next step, what I would do is rewrite this as one giant rational expression. So I just copy down my common denominator, and then I would go through up here and, multiply out your 3 times negative 1 plus 1. We know that that's going to be negative 3 plus 1, which we have a negative 2, over negative 1 times the quantity x minus 1. From here, our two negatives are going to go ahead and become a positive. They're going to divide out, so we're going to have a 2 over x minus 1. There's no need to write that 1 there since it's not doing anything. It's just the identity property. And there we go. And we know, obviously, that we know x can't be 1, otherwise that would make the denominator equal to 0. And we know that we can't have that. So we finished our very first problem. Okay, in our second problem here, the first thing I'm going to notice is that I want to kind of group these together just so I remind myself not to start getting slash happy. And we're subtracting here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the factors we have. We have an x minus 3 here, x plus 3. There's no way to make them look like one another, like what we had in the first problem. So we know that our least common multiple is going to be the quantity x minus 3 times the quantity x plus 3. So that's going to be our common denominator. So let's go ahead now and rewrite this with our common denominators. So you can do what we did in the first problem and just write your entire common denominator here to begin with, and then look at what you need to multiply through. Or another option is you can actually take a look at your original problem. I just copied it down and ask yourself, okay, to get this denominator to look like our least common multiple, what do I need to multiply? Whatever you need to multiply, in this case it's x plus 3, you obviously do to numerator and denominator. Okay, now let's come over here to the second term. So ask yourself, what needs to go in this denominator here to make it match up with our least common multiple? In this case, it's going to be the quantity x minus 3. Okay, and obviously you apply it to numerator and denominator. So from here, let's go ahead and kind of clean this up a little bit. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my x minus 3, x plus 3 here, and let's distribute all of our factors through. So we're going to get x squared plus 6x plus 9. Over here, we're going to get x squared minus 6x plus 9. All right, and then down here, we're just going to leave it. X minus 3, x plus 3. Okay, so now we've distributed everything through. Let's write it as a giant fraction now. Okay, so I'm going to copy down my original x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now be really careful, you guys, because you have to remember that this is subtraction. So you need to kind of distribute that negative through to everything. So it's going to be minus x squared plus 6x minus 9. Okay, and then in my denominator, I'm just going to go ahead and copy down the same stuff all along. At the end, I would go through and distribute this through, but not until the very end. Okay, we distribute in the beginning early, just in case we can combine some common terms. So let's see here what happens. Oh, wonderful. So we have the x squared, bye-bye. Our 9s, bye-bye. 6x plus 6x is obviously 12x over, what do we have here? Let's distribute this through. Well, and even if you didn't want to at this step, okay, obviously nothing is going to divide out here. So then in the end, I would go ahead and multiply everything through, distribute, and you're going to get x squared minus 9. Okay, x obviously in this case cannot be positive or negative 3. That would not work because it would make the denominator 0. Okay, all right, there we go. That's number 2, done. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our third example. So we have now a rational function. We're subtracting off some rational functions here with 3 terms. So first thing, I would try to find the least common multiple. So in order to find the least common multiple, let's look at our denominators. Well, we have an x plus 6, so we know that's going to have to be there. All right, x squared minus 36, you guys know that. It's a difference of 2 squares, so factor that. You can always try to factor it. So that's what we're going to have instead. So, okay, we already have an x plus 6, so we're not going to write it twice. So we just need to include our x minus 6. And then look at this third one here. So we have, change colors. It looks so close to this x minus 6. So again, we're going to use that distributing out or factoring out a negative 1. And we have an x minus 6 left over. All right. So again, we already have the x minus 6 here. The only thing we don't have is that negative 1. So I'm going to throw that in front. Okay, so now that's our most complicated least common multiple we've seen so far. So from here, we're going to go ahead and rewrite it. Now, I didn't change anything, you guys, from the original. So I copied everything down. The only thing different that I did was I wrote it in a way that used our new factored out denominators, okay? So now let's go through with each term and look to see what we need to add to the denominator and numerator. So in this first one, we already have an x plus 6. So now look in our least common multiple and see what we need to multiply through. So we're missing a negative 1, and we're also missing an x minus 6. So obviously what we do to the denominator, we're going to do to the numerator. All right, in the second one, let's go ahead and look. We are missing just the negative 1. So let's go ahead. It doesn't really matter where you multiply that through. Pick your poison in front or behind. And then in this third one, we're missing that x plus 6 term. All right, so once you have it all written out beautifully, I would make one giant fraction. All right, so we have -1, x plus 6, x minus 6. And now let's go through and just take it a little bit at a time. So this right here, we're going to have, what do we have? -3 times the quantity x minus 6. Okay, now let's come over here. Do not forget that you have this minus sign that you're distributing in. So it's going to be minus, and then here we have -4x. And then, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. He's like sniffing the computer right now. Get away. Then over here, okay, do not forget about that negative. So we can distribute that, the negative to 2, which we will then later bring into that x plus 6. Okay, so this still looks kind of ugly. Let's go through and distribute. So in my numerator, I'm going to have -3x plus 18. And then let's take it through, and we have plus 4x, and then take it through again, minus 2x minus 12. Just copy down your denominator. Okay, so then let's go through and simplify. In the numerator, all right, so let's see here. What about our x's? So we have -3x plus 4x minus 2x, -x, plus 6. And then in our denominator, just copy that down. Okay, so from here, we know that, okay, this is going to look really close to one of these, right? So use our same factoring out the -1 that we've been using a lot, right, in the past couple days. And you're going to see some magic happen here. You just wait and see. All right. Hey, -1 over -1. Bye-bye. Divides out to 1, right? The quantity x minus 6, bye-bye. Divides out. So what are we left with? Be very careful, guys. All right, you give 1 over x plus 6, okay? And that would be our answer, but when you figure out what x can't be, you want to make sure you come back to here because it can't be plus or minus 6. Okay, and that is it. So what I want you guys to try tonight for your homework, I want you to try page 368, numbers 5 and 13. And they're pretty basic. They're very similar to the first 2 problems we did, not the third one. So, okay, that's it. I hope you guys had a great day today and you were safe with all the snow. So, all right, take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.